play. We'll see if Chad White can keep up with his red-white aggro deck. Players have been given the green light. Let's watch some magic here in the semifinals of Los Angeles. Temple of Silence to begin. Top card will go to the bottom. We'll head back White's way. It's an Evolving Wilds. And we'll go back Shen's way. Shen will draw cards. Copy Event Hostilities. Here is a Thoughtseize. Let's see exactly what Chad is up to. Chad doesn't want to show his hand, but unfortunately for you, Chad, you're going to have to. You'll have to show us that Goblin Rabble Master, that Chain of the Rocks, that Stoke the Flames. That Lightning Strike as well. He's going to search for a plane here with Evolving Wilds. Nothing pretty about Evolving Wilds, but gets the job done.
It's a necessary evil in a two-color deck with Chain of the Rocks. You don't necessarily have to play it. Sometimes these decks play 0 and they do play something like Windscar Crag instead, but Chain of the Rocks is not free, even in a two-color deck.
It looks like Rebel Master might bite the dust. We'll see. Maybe Stoke the Flames.
And this is a really good example of why the deck needs something like Outpost Siege. You get hands where you have a threat card or one powerful reactive card, and a Thoughtseize can just tear that apart and leave you with a hand that's way less powerful than your opponent's as you move to the mid-game.
I imagine we'll see Shen play a second land here in just a moment. It's a copy of Land Over Waste, and he'll pass the turn back. White will draw. It's a mountain. That mountain will come into play. He'll pass the turn back over to Shen. Shen will draw. And here's a Thoughtseize yet again. So we'll take a look. Same cards as before. See if Rebel Master bites at us this time. Chain of the Rocks, Lightning Strike, the other options.
Seems very likely.
Chain of the Rock's going to bite the dust. That means clearly Shen has a removal spell for the Rebel Master. You can see the Bob Light in his hand right now.
Well, the risk here with this line of play from Shen is Chad's got to know something's up. And if he just says, go here with the Rabble Master, are you committed to holding up 2 or 3 mana for the rest of the game? It's a little awkward.
Yeah, my preference, if I'm Chad in this spot, is to not play the Rabble Master, because clearly if he's not taking with Thoughtseize, he has a removal spell, and you can deduce that, okay, it's Bile Blight in this situation. Now, yes, he would have to take 2 to cast Bile Blight, which isn't terrible, but I'd rather just hold it, especially with his draw being Chandra.
Exactly. Now, he might be saying to himself, I don't know if I'm going to get a better spot with this Rabble Master, because it's at least 2 points of damage, and down the line, it will probably cost 0 points for Shen to Bile Blight this. So if Chad decides to cast it, it's only a concession to Shen's mana right now. He gets 2 points of damage, and there's no guarantee he gets that down the line.
Well, he will play it. There's the Bile Blight. He'll have to take 2 to cast it. So Shen's down at 214. Windswept Heath the draw. He'll put that in play, pass the turn back. There's a land, here's a Chandra. And you're going to see very quickly the difference between Chandra and Outpost Siege in this matchup.
Yeah, right now, if Shen was playing against Outpost Siege, it would be really bad news. The hand of Abzan Charm, another removal spell, and end hostilities.
Yeah, instead, Hero's Downfall takes care of that. Nothing really even gets done. Shen draws a Thoughtseize for the turn to go along with the end hostilities and an Abzan Charm.
We can see a little bit of hesitation on Shen's side right now. The Thoughtseize is putting him to 10. He really would like to draw some action here, so then Abzan Charm's putting him to lower than 8 because of his mana base right now. And then he has nothing proactive to follow up with against opponent now with Lightning Strike, so.
Chain of the Rocks the draw. Pass the turn back. Shen not willing to fire off that Abzan Charm just yet. Land Waste was not the draw, it's actually Sandstorm Citadel, so that'll come into play. Valorous stance there for White. Both players can do a little draw go action. Shen's going to sacrifice the Windswept Heath, go down to 9. Maybe he will fire off the Abzan Charm and go down to 7.
Actually 6, because he has to tap a Pain Land.
Sure.
Against Lightning Strike? I don't know. I think that in Shen's spot with nothing really going on here, I would prefer to take the untap here, use the Sandstorm Citadel alongside your Temple of Silence, and try to cast this for a lot less damage.
He's going to wait for a moment here.
Okay, I thought he was going to cast it, but I like holding off here. Try to get another land that doesn't deal damage to you. There's no rush.
Draw step and hostilities. Pass the turn back. White will draw. Hey, that's an Outpost Siege. That's a good magic card.
It is.
It's on cons, and now Shen's got to get going.
2 copies of End Hostilities in hand, falling to 7 here.
Read the bones and Siege Rhino the draws. Siege Rhino, a very easy card for white to answer.
Thoughtseize not the ideal draw here for Shen.
Not the best one. Siege Rhino's good. He'll go up to 10. White will go down to 17.
Read the bones as well.
It's all a little painful. There's a Manic Influence for the Siege. Mountain to the draw for the turn. Chain of the Rocks will take care of that. There's a land and a pass. Shen will draw. It's a Windswept Teeth. Here's a Read the Bones. Risky, risky.
Can't not cast it, you know.
I think he's in that spot, yeah.
Time is not on Shen's side here. It's got to find something good.
Well, Elspeth and Soren aren't bad.
It's a good combo.
He said, I'll take both of those, thank you very much. There's Windswept Teeth. He'll pass the turn back, not willing to cast Thoughtseize. Lightning Strike. He thought about it, did white, but he will not cast it. Maybe he will.
I actually like casting it here, just from a mana efficiency standpoint. White with Stormbreath Dragon in his deck, and just he's going to cast it on him at some point. So,
Battlefield Forge revealed to the Outpost Siege. Rabble Master the draw. Excuse me, Hordling Outburst the draw. My apologies. So 3 Goblin tokens will come in. There's another Rhino. Valor stands at the ready here, though. Might have to take a point to use it, or he might just wait till his own turn.
I like being as mana efficient as possible without Post Siege in play. The 1 point of damage doesn't matter very much, and you don't want to be bottlenecked on mana.
Trigger. Valor stance. Draw. Chain to the Rocks. Attack for 3 points of damage. There's a Mountain pass a turn. Chain's what's left over. Back Shen's way we go. He'll draw. Looks like a Courser of Crewfix. Not a bad time for that.
You can see that Shen doesn't really want to deploy the Elspeth and plus because he's just going to have to trade off. Ideally, he's setting up a spot where you can have a board, cast Soren, plus it, and start getting some life.
Down to 4 is Shen. So now he is in Stoke the Flames range. Here is Elspeth. And of course, because that Outpost Siege is set to Khans, not Dragons, trading off is not so bad here. It gets the Goblins off of the table. But still not great. Take a look. Plains. He's looking for a Stoke. He found a Stormbreath Dragon. That'll do just fine. Chad White's going to win game number 1 here over Sam Shen. Red-White aggro very quickly up a game over Robs on mid-range.
And that might have been Chad's last look at it, because if he misses everything, Shen can say, okay, no blocks, I'll take all of it. Risk a small burn spell. If Chad has nothing, Shen can then untap, play Soren, plus, and pull himself all the way back. So a really big top deck there for Chad.
Sideboard time. We'll take a look, and we will start with Sam Shen. We'll find a Bile-Blight, a Murderous Cut, an Utter End, a Tassiger, and a Johnny Anissa, an Ugin, along with 2 Drowning Sorrows, 3 Glare of Heresies, and 2 Read the Bones.
So the 3 copies of Glare of Heresy, a pretty good removal spell. Bile-Blight, Murderous Cut, Utter End, all very nice here. I don't know if he's going to want to go to something like Tassiger because of the Valorous stances that are in Chad's list. Drowning Sorrow is okay in this matchup. There's some medium options here. The things I definitely like are Bile-Blight, Murderous Cut, Utter End. The Glares, the Drowning Sorrows, the Tassigers, they're around average and may or may not come in.
Other side of things here for Chad White. He's got 3 Ashcloud Phoenix, 2 Erase, 2 Wild Slash, an additional Chandra to go along with the 2 in his main deck, 2 Arc Lightnings, 3 on Hostilities, and then 2 Glare of Heresies. I think you got to love the Phoenix.
Love the Phoenix, love the Glare of Heresies. Really like the additional Chandra, even though it comes with some weaknesses. The game is probably going to be played at a slower pace. There's more removal, so the more quality 4 and 5 mana plays Chad can add to his deck, the better. Ashcloud Phoenix will be great here, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think those are going to be immediately coming in here for White. So these players will finish siding up And we will discuss Cardboard Crack, 4 great books available at Star City Games.
Yeah, the first 3 so well received that we come out with a 4th, the black and white Magic the Gathering themed comic strip. All books available at paperback, $12.99 a piece, starcitygames.com/cardboardcrack. Order your copy today.
This red-white aggro deck continues to impress for me. Continues to impress. I just really like this deck. I really do.
It is sweet. A lot of room for customization, too.
Just got some, it's an aggro deck that has really good removal.
Yeah.
And I'm always a big fan of those because, you know, there are plenty of aggro decks out there in Magic's past that, you know, there are some cards that have just been the old roadblock that you can't really get through.
Between Chain of the Rocks and Valorous Stance, you have the big stuff covered. Lightning Strike, Stoke the Flames, even things like Chandra, Hordling Outburst, very powerful against small things. So you in theory, have everything covered.
You don't kick the door down all that quickly. You're not starting off with, you know, a card like Fire Drinker Satyr. Most of the time, your first line is going to enter the battlefield tapped. But besides that, I mean, you've got something to do on turn 2 and Seeker of the Way, and then things start to really heat up on turn 3 and turn 4.
Yeah, and you can tell with these decks, you know, the options for your threat base, there's a lot you can do. Chat with 3 copies of Burmaz. That's a card that you sometimes see 0 copies of in these lists. Still playing with Goblin Rabble Master. Ash Cloud Phoenix in the sideboard. Sometimes you see that in the main. Sometimes you see that nowhere in the 75. So the pool of threats to choose from is very deep for a 2-color combination. You would anticipate maybe it would be a little bit shallow. There's no marquee 3-color card in Constantar here, no Mantis Rider, no Siege Rhino, but red-white has more than enough to pull from.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's ever going to be an optimal build of red-white, or should always go through some sort of fluctuation. You know, at this point, Outpost Siege is a 2 of. I wouldn't be surprised to see that number just keep rising as we go.
Well, there is a point of diminishing returns on that sort of card. But I do think that the third one is perhaps tolerable. It seems like Chad has kind of drawn the same conclusion here with 2 Chandras, 2 Outpost Sieges, another Chandra in the sideboard. So for the longer game, he's willing to go up to the 5th copy of that sort of effect.
I think that I agree with you that there is some amount of diminishing returns involved, but I think the first one is so good and helps you, it is so, I guess, crucial to helping you win or to go into a later game that I think you want to ensure that you'll draw at least 1 a game.
That's a reasonable philosophy. The problem is there's a lot of cards in this deck that I feel that way about. Like, Valorous Stance is one where I want to cut.
I want more of those.
Another copy that's on another card on diminishing returns, to be sure. Not great in every matchup, but every time that card comes up, it's impressive.
Do you like Burmaz in this deck?
Not really. I like biasing the mana a little bit more towards red to more consistently enable Chain of the Rocks, which this deck can't cast all the time. I'm also living in a world where everyone else has already drawn the same conclusion about Valorous Stance.
Okay.
So Burmaz gets a little bit worse.
Yeah,
in my
no,
theoretical
for sure.
World, but
for sure.
It's okay. It's definitely a powerful card. If you're anticipating more linear aggressive strategies, Burmaz is one of the best threats you can bring to the table. For a deck like Mono Red, it's basically Stoke the Flames or bust.
Yeah, it's
or
the brick wall.
use 2 cards or something.
Yeah. Both players going to take a look at their openers here. Looks like Shen is happy. White's happy. We'll play our second game. Sandsep Citadel is where we'll begin things. There's an Evolving Wilds pass the turn back. Shen with Land of More Wastes, and Chad will sacrifice his Wilds. It'll be a Plains here for Chad. And we'll see the second turn here in just a moment. See if there's a Seeker of the Way or just a passing of the turn.
Not quite Arid Mesa, but you work with what you can work with.
Yeah, you think just maybe a touch worse. You don't take any damage.
It is free.
Yeah. Yeah, free is a bit strong. As you like to say, you pay cost in other ways.
Yeah.
Here's a Temple of Triumph.
Saving your life total and your wallet.
And indeed.
Sweet budget options.
Scry is done there with the Temple. Channel draw, copy a Courser. Oh no. He has missed his 3rd land. This is a Burmaz, which does not get killed by Bile Blight. Hero's Downfall, that's 1 too many mana. This one could be over real fast.
I mean, you know, if Shen can get to land number 3, he's got a pretty good hand. He can fend off for a while here. Abzan Charms, Hero's Downfall, but it's got to be soon.
Here comes an attack. Four damage is going to be dealt. Shen's down to 16. The follow-up is a Chandra. This is one of those spots where Chandra or Outpost Siege would be insane.
Exactly. Chandra is slightly better here, but it doesn't really matter all that much.
Battlefield Forge is the play. The 0 button will reveal another Battlefield Forge. That land's going to come into play.
Little disappointed in Chad here. Big fan of going to the top rope with Chandra as fast as possible. Maybe a mistake here, but I'll never turn it down.
The cat token's been hit by a Bio Blight. Now here's a Hordeling Outburst. 3 Goblin tokens coming.
I mean, you got Stoke the Flames in your deck.
Pass the turn back. Shen will draw. It's a land finally.
I think perhaps too much damage has been done.
Just has to pass the turn back. White will draw. The 0 button is an Outpost Siege. Looks like we're going to go to the attack step here in just a moment. Yep. Everybody's coming in. Outpost Siege down on Dragons is probably a wrap on this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any way for Shen to beat that, because he has to kill the creatures to stay alive.
It's the squeeze.
Yes, yes it is. Looks like Shen's going to search for a forest here.
Pretty tough end of the road here for Shen.
Yeah, it's been such a good tournament for him.
Ran away with the whole thing. Last undefeated player.
Just some real mana issues. There's Abzan Charm. Have to take 1 to cast that. So it'll take 5 total this turn.
Yeah, and I think that means Outpost Siege is pretty close to a lock if it's set on Dragons, especially with Chandra in play. Can still go up.
Pass that turn back. It is on Dragons. Shen gonna take a look at his hand. Does have a Corsair Crucifix he can cast. Put that into play. Take a look at the top card. It's Temple of Malady. That one's gonna come in most likely. He'll go with the untapped land instead. He'll go up to 6. Now he's gonna play a copy of Tassiger. Try to hold the line a little bit here. He's down to 5.
Yeah, I think a plussing of Chandra basically gets the job done here. That knocks Shen down to 4. All the creatures are either blocked or dead.
Yep.
And that's exactly 0.
Removal spell, maybe a Stoke the Flames. Who even knows? Who even cares? It's going to get the job done either way. Chad White's moving on to the finals over Sam Shen. 2 games to 0. Red-White aggro takes care of Abzan mid-range. Some mana troubles there for Shen. A little bit of frustration, but it's understandable. He's had such a great tournament, and the mana issues come to bite him in game 2.
But Chad won a game straight up game 1 in this matchup, and all the credit goes to Outpost Siege. Definitely swung that matchup. And a new addition here for Red-White aggro that I think we're going to see in a variety of red, anywhere from beatdown to mid-range strategies. It's very powerful, very flexible, especially for an aggressive deck, because the second mode is real. I mean, a lot of the times you're setting it to cons if the game's stalled out at all, but if you have an advantage on the board, Dragons can shut the door.
Congratulations to Chad White. Moving on to the finals. He'll play the winner of either